Did you know that currently the most technologically advanced and also the most expensive bomber in history is over 40 years old now? If you're still not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Ring the notification bell so you'll not miss any of my videos in the future. In the late 1970s, the United States had a president named Jimmy Carter, who started an ambitious program that would become known as ATB, an acronym for Advanced Technology Bomber. Whose goal was to create a super bomber capable of penetrating the densest enemy anti-aircraft defenses, dropping bombs on highly valuable targets and return home base completely undetectable. The objective was quite simple: to develop a bomber invisible to enemy radars, since the Blackbird did not have the bombing capability, it only did the work of espionage and reconnaissance. The world was very different from what we know today. The space race was no longer as relevant after the United States first landed on the moon in 1969, but military tensions were increasing, with crises occurring in different parts of the world and new technologies being developed at an alarming rate. In the early 1980s, another president, and this one I think you've heard more about, named Ronald Reagan, decided that he was going to continue the B-2 project, but the project reached absurdly high values. If we update the values for today's money, the entire B-2 program would cost about $733 billion. Just to give you an idea, the entire Apollo program, which took the man to the moon, would cost $260 billion in today's money. There were two contenders competing for the B-2 production contract. On one hand, Northrop and Boeing joined with the prototype called Senior Ice. On the other, Lockheed and Rockwell with the prototype called Senior Peg. Who recognizes the shape of Lockheed's prototype? Does anyone dare to say which plane it became a few years later? Stay until the end of the video to find out. Because Northrop studied flying wings with the XB-35 at the end of the World War II, with this very advanced and very strange design as well for the time, Northrop's proposal was chosen and the Senior Ice project started to be built in 1979 in an old Ford factory that was completely rebuilt in Pico Rivera, California. A large security program was created to protect the project from leaks. Ghost companies were created, and it was through them that the necessary parts and equipment for the construction of the aircraft were purchased. Most employees worked for years without knowing exactly what they were actually building. These workers also did polygraph tests, which is a piece of equipment that can tell if you are lying or not during an interrogation. And finally, on November 22, 1988, after a long 9 years of development, the aircraft was shown to the public for the first time. The first official flight was on July 17, 1989. Little is actually known to date about the details of its construction, specifications and capabilities. What we officially know so far, 40 years later, is what the US Air Force make available on its website. According to them, the bomber has a length of 21 meters, wingspan of 52.4 meters, and a height of 5.18 meters. In comparison, the Boeing 767 has a wingspan of 48 meters, 4 shorter than the B-2. It is a plane with 4 jet engines F-118 from General Electric without afterburners. These specifications make the bomber reach a maximum speed of 630 miles an hour or Mach 0.95 and a cruising speed of 560 miles an hour or Mach 0.85 at 40,000 feet. Basically, the performance is similar to a long-haul commercial airplane such as the Boeing 777 or the Airbus A330. It has a range of 6,1900 miles that can almost double it with in-flight refueling, covering the distance, for example, from France to New Zealand, or from Sydney in Australia to Recife in Brazil, without the need to land anywhere. The most advanced bomber in the world has an incredible capacity to carry 23 tons of the most diverse bombs. Its configuration can vary from 16 thermonuclear atomic bombs type B-83 of a megaton each to 80 JDAMS bombs of 500 pounds each. The B-2 is what we now call the flying wing, meaning that it does not have a conventional fuselage like other planes or tail with a rudder and elevator. The angles of B-2's wings and body were specially designed to reflect waves from enemy raiders. As far as we know, the crew is made up of only 2 pilots, but depending on the complexity and autonomy of the mission, a third member can compose the crew. The B-2 is an extremely advanced military aircraft. Its automatic flight systems allow crew members to sleep on alternate shifts and get ready for this, even prepare hot meals. For a bomber, we can consider that to be a luxury compared to other military aircraft, but thanks to this convenience that the B-2 manages to perform ultra-long-range missions, as I said before, being able to fly more than 40 hours in a row. During its concept phase, the fear of a Soviet attack was constant, so it was designed to do a single very specific mission: invade Soviet airspace, drop its bombs, and most importantly, return to base safely. All of that without being detected. With this important objective in mind, B-2 was built with super advanced technologies for the 1980s, using materials that are not yet public nowadays to reduce infrared noise and radar signature. The B-2, instead of what we would naturally take for granted, does not fly constantly in stealth mode. The crew activates the radar invisibility mechanism only when approaching enemy airspace or the most advanced anti-aircraft defenses. How this technology works, of course, is still one of America's best protected state secrets. Because it is a flying wing, the aircraft naturally has a very low profile compared to other airplanes. To further reduce its signature on enemy radars, its surface is all organic, without straight angles except for the wings cutout, with very smooth curves, mimicking a bird. Invisibility to enemy radars is possible thanks to fluid dynamics. That's right, state-of-the-art simulation and projection programs are loaded onto B-2 computers to study how electromagnetic waves interact with the environment. Its engines are located inside the body of the flying wings, which helps to further reduce its visibility to radars and also its infrared signature. To ensure their thermal invisibility to radars, those engines do not have an afterburner. Despite all this, B-2 would still be able to be detected by radar. With that in mind, a new type of special material was developed to absorb radar waves. Today we know that this special material is not metal, and according to Boeing itself, it is a fibrous compound based on carbon graphite and resin. Do you dare to say what is this material? It is stronger than steel and lighter than aluminium. Since its creation, at least officially, B-2 has never been detected and has never been the target of a missile fired by anti-aircraft defenses or interceptor fighters. There is much debate as to whether Chinese or Russian radars are capable of detecting it. But what really proves its efficiency of invisibility against advanced radar system is the so-called war games, occasionally made by USA and its allies near politically unstable regions around the world as Korea or even Taiwan. The little information available indicates that the aircraft is not detectable even by the North American system themselves. Most of B-2's operation takes off from Whiteman Base in the state of Missouri, right in the center of the US map, resulting in extremely long and exhausting missions, like the longest of all bombing missions in history, having lasted longer than 44 hours without landing. This mission took off from Missouri and bombed highly valuable targets in Afghanistan in late 2001. Because of all this capacity mentioned in this video, B-2 is, until the recording date of this video, the most expensive airplane ever produced in the world, with a price tag including spare parts of $2.1 billion at the time. Updated by American inflation, that figure would be $3.44 billion today. In addition, it is also the most expensive military equipment in history, with each flight hour requiring the equivalent of 190 hours of ground maintenance. For comparison, the legendary B-52s cost $7 million a year in maintenance. B-2s cost $40 million, and each flight hour cost $135,000 to the taxpayer. Exorbitant acquisition and maintenance costs were controversial at the time in the US Congress, since little they know exactly the real capabilities of the project. With the tensions of the Cold War cooling down in the early 1990s, the initial order for 132 aircraft was tremendously reduced to a total of 21 bombers, but the current fleet today consists of 20. Why is that? The B-2 named Spirit of Kansas was destroyed in an accident shortly after it took off on a sunny day at the Andersen Air Force Base in Guam on February 23, 2008. Both pilots ejected safely and survived, but the B-2 had a hull lost, making $1.4 billion disappear in flames. According to the Air Combat Command itself, on the morning of the accident, the aircraft was loaded with confidential material. The official cause of the accident established by the investigation is that a very heavy and lashing rain caused the water to penetrate the data sensors. Rain. Okay then. Today, B-2 remains the most technologically advanced aircraft in operation in the world. Throughout the years 2000 and 2010, multi-million-dollar programs to update its avionics systems and external coatings are allowing B-2 to extend its lifespan for at least another 20 years. It is estimated that until at least 2040, these planes will still be fully operational and will be able to reach extremely valuable targets with an accuracy of just a few meters, thus guaranteeing the sovereignty and deterrence power of the United States for many years ahead. This plane, at the date I am recording this video, is 44 years old since its first conception in 1977. Even today, 4 decades later, very little we know about the details of its construction and technologies. Imagine what already exists today and we don't even know yet. Many say that B-2 looks like an alien spaceship with technology from reverse engineering on captured UFOs. In the late 80s and early 90s, many UFOs were sighted without being detected on the radars. Exactly at the same time span, the development of the world's first stealth airplane, the Nighthawk, would take place. A project that matured from Lockheed Martin's Senior Peg prototype. Cool, huh? Did you like this video? Help the channel, subscribe and activate the ring bell to receive more videos like this. Support those who do a great job. I'm beginning this channel and I hope you like it. Okay? See you. Bye bye.